Tattoos were banned again, again, and again by governments, by religions, by entire civilizations. The Christian church banned them, the Japanese emperor banned them, the British army banned them. Doctors called them a disease, employers called them a crime. And every single time, they came back. Not weaker, not hidden, stronger. Why? That question has one answer, and it goes back 5,000 years, to a frozen body discovered in the Alps, covered in marks that nobody expected to find. This is the story of tattoos, from the oldest skin ever found, to the 40% of young people today who have at least one. It is a story about identity, about belonging, about why human beings have always needed to mark themselves, and why no power on earth has ever been able to stop them. Hello, my friends. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to Custom Stories in English. Now, let the story begin. The year is 1991. Two hikers are walking through the Alps on the border between Austria and Italy. They find a body in the ice. At first, they think it is a recent accident, a climber who fell. They call the authorities. But when scientists arrive, they realize something extraordinary. This man did not die recently. He died 5,300 years ago. They name him Ötzi, and when they examine his frozen skin, they find something nobody expected. 61 tattoos. Not decorative, not random, placed with precision on his lower back, his knees, his ankles, exactly where modern doctors would apply acupuncture needles to treat joint pain. Ötzi had arthritis, and someone, 5,000 years ago, tattooed his body as medicine. The oldest tattoos ever found were not art. They were not rebellion. They were not fashion. They were an attempt to stop pain. And that is where this story begins. Not with identity, not with self-expression, with a person who was suffering and someone who tried to help. Everything else came later. For most of human history, tattoos were not a choice. They were a ritual. The word tattoo itself comes from the Polynesian word tatau. It means to strike, to mark. And when European sailors first arrived in Polynesia in the 18th century, they encountered something that stopped them completely. Men and women covered from head to foot in intricate patterns. Every mark deliberate, every mark meaningful. A Polynesian tattoo was not decoration, it was biography. Your family, your rank, your battles, your spiritual connection to the gods. A fully tattooed warrior carried his entire life story on his skin. Strangers could read him before he spoke a single word. The process took weeks, sometimes months. The tools were made from bone and shell, the ink from burnt candle nut. Every session was a ceremony, every mark earned through pain. If you survived, and not everyone did, you emerged transformed, not just marked, different. Captain James Cook brought Polynesian tattoo traditions back to Europe in the 1770s. His sailors arrived home with marks on their skin that nobody in England had ever seen before. Within decades, tattooing had spread across every port city in the Western world. The sailors had brought something back that would never leave. And in Japan, something equally powerful was happening. But the story there was about to take a very different turn.
By the 19th century, in Western culture,
tattoos had found a new home. On the bodies of people society had decided did not belong. Sailors, criminals, circus performers, soldiers, prostitutes. If you had a tattoo in Victorian England, you were announcing something, not deliberately, not as a choice, simply by having it visible. You are not one of us. And yet, something interesting happened. In 1862, King Edward VII of Britain got a tattoo in Jerusalem, a cross, a souvenir of his pilgrimage. Within years, tattooing became fashionable among European aristocracy. Kings and queens, princes and princesses, people who had never spoken to a sailor in their lives suddenly wanted tattoos. Tattoo studios opened in London, in Paris, in New York. The outsider mark had become a status symbol. This is the pattern that tattoos follow throughout history. Over and over again, something starts at the margins, with sailors, with criminals, with the poor, with the colonized, with the rebellious. The powerful look down on it, and then, slowly, inevitably, the powerful want it. Because what the outsider has is something the insider desperately wants: authenticity. The 20th century put tattoos through everything. In the Second World War, tattoos became something they had never been before. In Nazi concentration camps, prisoners were tattooed with identification numbers, a mark not of belonging, but of erasure, of reducing a person to a number. It was the darkest possible use of something ancient and human. And yet, that same war sent millions of soldiers and sailors around the world. Men who came back with tattoos from Japan, from the Pacific Islands, from every port they had visited. Tattoos as memory, as proof that they had been somewhere real, that they had survived. The same act, completely opposite meanings. That contradiction, tattoo as dehumanization, tattoo as survival, says everything about what ink on skin can carry. In the 1950s and 60s, tattoos were still deeply associated with danger, with bikers, with gangs, with people your parents warned you about. In Japan, the Yakuza crime organizations had turned full-body tattooing into an art form and a symbol of absolute loyalty. To be tattooed was to commit completely. There was no going back. And then, in the 1970s and 80s, something shifted. Punk, rock music, counterculture. Young people looking for ways to say, "I am not like the generation before me." Tattoos were perfect. By the 1990s, tattoos had moved from the margins to the mainstream. By the 2000s, celebrities, athletes, artists, teachers, doctors. Today, in many Western countries, having a tattoo is more common than not having one among people under 40. The thing that was banned by governments, churches, and entire civilizations for centuries is now chosen by nearly half the population. The outsider mark became everyone's mark. And that, my friends, is the story of tattoos. From Ötzi in the Alps 5,000 years ago to the 40% of young people today who carry permanent marks on their skin. Every civilization tried to stop it. None of them succeeded. Because tattoos have never really been about ink. They have been about something much older and much more urgent. The need to say, "I exist. I have lived. This is who I am." Governments can ban that need. Religions can condemn it. Employers can refuse it, but they cannot remove it. It is written on the skin, and it will always come back. Leave a comment below. Do you have a tattoo? And if you do, what does it mean to you? I would love to know. Share this with someone who is also learning English. And if you enjoyed this journey, like this video and subscribe to Custom Stories in English. It helps the channel grow and brings more stories to more people. It was a pleasure to be with you today. See you in the next one.